everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, and on today's video I'm kind of launching the first of my journaling projects, and that is looking at the first few chapters of A Year to Change Your Mind by Dr Lucy Maddox. If you're someone who watches my weekly reading vlogs, thank you so much. You will have seen that this was kindly sent to me through Tandem and was a mail out that I got, and I was intrigued by this because it breaks down various issues and hurdles and obstacles that we as humans face throughout the year. It looks at trends such as spring cleaning, setting goals at the start of the year, family expectations and managing family in December, managing anger through the summer because the summer triggers a lot of anger in people due to the heat and stuff. And it just looks at some of the challenges we face in every month of the year. And I thought it'd be a really interesting project to do through the year, to read the chapter, sit and do some journaling and talk you guys through my thoughts and reflections on each of the chapters, as well as applying some of the tips and techniques that are talked about in each chapter to myself. And I just thought that'd be a really nice exercise to share with all of you. In this first video, because I only got the book in February and I got it in like the last week of February, I have decided to kind of do 3 months in one. So I'll be doing the first half of the video will be January, February, and then the last bit will be March. And basically January is looking at the start of the year. It looks at goals, it looks at things like SMART targets, and it has techniques to help you come up with more achievable and more attainable targets, as well as techniques to help you making massive life decisions, which generally tend to fall again at this time of year. February then looks at depression, as it is in February that we are most prone to falling into low moods, depression, anxiety, and that idea of feeling stuck and not sure where to go next. So February kind of helps pull us back out of that. And then March's focus is all on spring cleaning. It's going to look at why do we do spring cleaning? Why is it at this time of year that we feel particularly inclined to do it? And then goes on to talking about creating spaces that can help us put ourselves into a better mindset. To do this, I have this little notebook, and basically as I read each chapter, I make marks with my tabs. I have green tabs, which are bits that I want to come back to later and will just be things that I flick back to read in later dates. And then I don't have any yellow in here right now, but as I read each chapter, I mark in yellow for things that I need to then follow up with actual tasks that I need to do, or extra bits of research that I want to write down. And that's where this notebook comes in. So I will give you a very quick, I've written down each of the months here and what the topics are. And then I just have a page per month. So January, you can see I've already filled in, and I'll talk more about that in the next series of clips. Same with February, I've got some notes. And then right at the back, I've just started writing down a couple of things that I want to go and do some further reading on. And there's a book that was mentioned in February's chapter that I think is going to be really valuable for me. And so I've made a note of that. So yeah, I'm just going to stop the introduction here, and please enjoy the next 10 to 15 minutes of me just chatting through the various chapters. Obviously this month is going to be a lot longer because I'm doing 3 months in one. Typically this would only be about a 10-minute video, so please do bear with me, but I hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you at the end of the video. This is now me going through and rereading over the chapters of January and February in order for me to make some notes and just catching up. For January, it was this idea of looking at how we start the year and the pressure that comes with setting goals, and why it is that quite often we start to struggle with our goals as early as the second and third week of January. Quite often this is because people tend to set unrealistic goals for themselves, or they think so far into the future that they start to lose sight of attaining that goal. I'm really guilty of this. I tend to think about things like in the past I focused on I want to lose this much weight by December. I want to have this many subscribers at the end of the year. It's usually things to do with money or numbers and things that I can track, but I do then get very disheartened because quite often I forget that I need to set smaller goals throughout the year to help me achieve that big goal. And I think for me, that's one that I struggle with. And there's an emphasis in this chapter on creating SMART goals. So instead of having one big goal that you work towards throughout the year, instead you have smaller, more achievable goals in smaller stages throughout the year. And SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time limited. Essentially, instead of just setting a goal of I want X amount of subscribers by December, instead you set a goal of I want X amount of subscribers by the end of January. And then you break it down into, well, how can I do that? So for me, I've started to look back on the last 6 months. I've made a note of the videos that bring in the most viewers, bring in the most audience. I've made a note of asking you guys what you want to see in order to keep you invested. And I've set each one of those as its own goal. So even though all of those things will help towards that big goal, those things themselves are smaller, more achievable goals. It will help, and it will help to increase my audience, but at the same time, that in itself is a very small goal that I was able to achieve within a day. And I have found that I've started to go back over some of the goals that I set in my journal at the start of the year, and I have realised that some of them I already am like, how am I even going to achieve this goal? So I am now starting to go further into the idea of breaking those down into more manageable monthly chunks and having fewer goals, because I've written down loads and loads of things that I would like to do, but it's then hard to pick one or two that are just going to be the main focuses. So now I'm in the process of doing that. When it came to filling in the journal spread for this month, I looked at the tasks. So I've written down a little note to myself to remind myself about SMART goals. And then it also looks at decision making. So January is also a big time for people to make big decisions about what they want for their career, what they want for their personal life, etc. But then again, it can be very difficult to then actually make that decision. In the book, the author was saying that she had a big decision whether to stay in London or move to Bath for a job. And I potentially could be facing a similar one. I would like to move to Scotland, or there's a potential that I might move to Australia in the next couple of years. And one of the things that she suggests that you do as an activity for that is writing down a pro and con list, but then taking it a step further. So for example, moving to Australia, on my pros list, my sister lives out there. I've got a person out there that I'm very close to. There's better wages out there. There's generally a much higher standard of healthcare out there, and it's an exciting and new opportunity. But then the cons are I wouldn't have many social connections. I wonder if I would cope with the weather, because I don't cope well with hot weather. There are spiders. A job will be difficult to get, especially with my teaching status at the moment. Health insurance might be expensive, especially as I've got pre-existing conditions. Flying there and back is 20 plus hours, and if something happens back in England, it's going to take not just a few hours to get back, it will take days. And Australia is a huge country where pretty much everybody drives, and it's almost a necessity to drive to get around. I've been told you can do Australia without necessarily needing to drive, but only if you stick to the city. So if you want to come out of the city at all, you have to drive, because they don't have the extensive train and bus network that we do here in the UK. So these are all things that I have to think about. Now, what she then suggests is going a step further. So look at your pro list and your con list, and for everything that you have written down, give that a score from 0 to 10 in order of importance. 0 being actually it's not important at all, in fact it's barely negligible, and then 10 being this is the most important thing to me and is one of the biggest factors in deciding. So I did that. I went through and I was like, okay, so I have more on the cons list in terms of how many things I've written down. So when I look at my pros list, even though I had 4 things written down, the average score that list got was 8.25, Whereas with my cons list, even though it had more things written down, I had 6 things, the overall average for each score I gave was only 5.6. So at the moment, it's looking like it would be more beneficial to go and better for me to go than it would be to stay. And then she suggests taking it one step further. Everybody has a set of core values that are like the most important things to them. These values change throughout life. These values evolve and are constantly adapting. I think sometimes we can be, I know I've fallen for this one where I've said that something is a core value for me, but then when I've stopped and thought about it, I'm like, actually, it's not as core a value as I might have thought. So I had a look and I found a few lists about, because I wasn't entirely certain about what core values were. And I was like, right, where I am right now, what are my core values? And I have got things like my health, mindfulness, so looking after my mental health and taking care of myself and make sure I don't slip into depression, relationships, specifically with my family, some friends and potential romances. Creativity is a huge one for me at the moment. I'm expanding my business, I'm expanding my YouTube. And then fulfillment, which I see as being things like career and family and how fulfilled I feel with the things that I'm doing in life. And then you can take those core values and you can apply those to your pro and con list as well. And I found, again, with each aspect, it was leaning more and more and more towards actually Australia would be a fantastic thing for me. And so I've basically used the activities that she suggested, and it has kind of helped me to come to a decision for where I want to be in the future. And what I want to do now, I'm going to look at doing Australia versus Scotland and again do similar things. Look at the pros and cons for each one and see which one is best for me. I'm liking this pros cons list, but also the priorities list and how it links to my values. And it's like, yes, I might be setting this goal, but this is something that is more of a dream that's going to happen in the next year or two. And in the meantime, I can then focus on those SMART targets to get those smaller scale things through the year. So I really enjoyed the January setup. I thought that was really cool. For February, it was looking at how this is the worst time of year for depression and low mood because we're towards the end of winter. We haven't got any holidays like Christmas or Halloween, bonfire night, things like that to help bring our spirits back up. And a lot of people start to feel stuck because it's at this time of year where we're a month in, where goals start to fall off and we start to wonder, well, what even is the purpose? And we start to feel stuck. And I will agree, I do have a little bit of that going on at the moment. I am feeling that. But one of the key things that I took away from this chapter is absolutely a thing that I have applied, is the theory of doing activity and increasing your physical activity to help boost your mood. It doesn't mean physical activity as in go to the gym. It just means something as simple as sitting out in the garden for 5 minutes with a cup of tea once a week. It's something a little bit different to your usual, but is something that might be really beneficial to you. So for me, I love having mornings where I sit out in the garden with the cat. Usually I've got a cup of tea. She comes and she'll just cuddle up with me and want stroking. So I go out and I do that. So I started thinking about, well, what are the key things that I love to do that bring me energy and make me feel really good? Being outside is a big one. I love being out in nature. I like going to the lake. I like sitting outside in the garden. I like going for walks. I just very rarely have the energy to do so. Cleaning randomly, that is one. I hate cleaning. It gives me a lot of pain, but it also gives me a really big sense of achievement, and it actually gives me a very big boost in endorphins when I look and see how things have cleaned and changed. And I like to do small things to socialise with friends because that also gives me... I like to sometimes go to the swimming pool at the weekends and I watch my niece when she does her swimming lessons. I go along, just spend a bit of time, and then after the swimming lesson, while my brother goes and gets changed, I get my niece changed and I get cuddles with her and it's really lovely. I like to go out and do photography walks with my camera, just take photos of the local wildlife. I do little dance sessions. And then I sort of looked at a couple of bigger ones, so things like tidying my room. It takes a bit more effort, takes a bit more time, but again, I get that really big boost. And then things like doing stargazing and running book sprints and reading sprints on my channel. So I have now created a list, and I will continue to add to this list of little things that I can do that will just sort of help boost my mood on those low days and don't take a lot of energy, but are still something that's a bit different to just sitting on the sofa watching TV or having a nap or something like that, which I'm prone to do.
Hi, Editing Kirsty. I realised that this video was getting to be, it was already 20 minutes long and I'd only done January, February. So I'm going to do an extra video this month with Marches and do it a little bit later in the month. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here.
I really hope you enjoyed that video. It was a different format, something slightly different to what I normally do, so do let me know in the comments if you really enjoyed that format. And for those of you that are here for the journaling videos and have been excited for me to launch more about writing and journaling and mental health, please let me know what you think. Are you also thinking about picking up this book and doing the same thing? If so, let me know. If you have read this book, what were your thoughts? And also, if there's anything in that video that you would like me to go more into detail on, maybe do a separate video all about SMART targets, do a video about how to manage depression, because I am very experienced at having depression. Anything like that, let me know. I'm always happy to hear comments from you guys and get more ideas for future content. So I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, bye.